To understand why predatory capitalism and war are the same, we must examine war itself. A piece written by David Nichtern called "Are Conflict and War Inevitable?" touches on the realities of war and conflict. In this piece, he unintentionally exposes the truth behind predatorial capitalism incentivizing war. He writes, it may be impossible to create a world without conflict, but perhaps conflict is not the problem. It seems to be a natural outcome of the friction of people living together, sharing resources, aspirations, and obstacles. Disagreement could be considered a creative process that leads to exploring other points of view, adjusting our expectations, and becoming more sensitive and open to the needs of others. The key to working with conflict creatively is the notion of resolution, working to arrive at a higher integration, a creative fusion of the dynamic elements expressed in a dispute. We often experience discord with other people, at home, at work, in politics, everywhere. But when these disagreements remain unresolved, when we need to win at any cost, or when the situation becomes more and more divisive, then we will see the dawn of warfare at the personal level for sure, but also at the local, tribal, national, and global level. Once we abandon the idea of resolving conflicts, they will inevitably, sooner or later, flare up and expand into a skirmish, into battle, into full-on combat. If you look closely at warfare, you will find its seeds in the abandoned process of conflict resolution. War happens when we forego the attempt to resolve our disagreements in a creative way, and we feel there is no choice left but destruction. The others have now become our enemy, and we try to eliminate them. In this article, he writes and says, when these disagreements remain unresolved, when we need to win at any cost, or when the situation becomes more and more divisive, then we will see the dawn of warfare. What he just described is the modus operandi of a predatory system. It is an economic system where profit-seeking is prioritized over everything else. And this is why this war is inevitable. It was destined to happen because of the concept and philosophy of predatory capitalism. Those who are in business and truly understand the workings of pure capitalism, they know that we do not live in a capitalistic society in the normal sense. We live in a grotesque, twisted, mutated version that resembles from afar capitalism. But on closer examination, you will find out that in this system there is no such thing as a friend, security, stability, reason, or sanity. As it says in the beginning, it is absolutely profit-driven above all else. It even prioritizes profit over its own well-being. Predatory capitalism describes a version of capitalism characterized by aggressive, unethical, and harmful practices aimed at maximizing profits, often at the expense of social well-being, the environment, and fair competition. It is considered a deviant form with little resemblance to the traditional definition of capitalism as a system of private ownership and free markets. Remember, in the piece we just read, it says, war is the natural outcome of the friction of people living together, sharing resources, aspirations, and obstacles. When it comes to predatorial capitalism, sharing anything, even resources, is considered blasphemous. The dark psychological belief is rooted in the attitude of why share when I could conquer? Why share when I can dominate? Why share when I can have it all? This obsession is the breeding ground of conflict and war. It is associated with neoliberal policies and the rise of financial capital's dominance. Predatory capitalism always leads to war. War is generally defined as a conflict between organized groups, usually states or groups with a command structure that involves widespread violence, destruction, and mortality. It's a fractious system. It thrives in conflict, competition for resources and markets. The pursuit of profit can lead to competition for resources and markets, potentially escalating tensions and conflict. The militarization and intervention aspect of predatory capitalism is associated with heavy investment in militarization, which can be used to protect interests and expand influence, leading to war or intervention, overproduction, and global dominance. The inherent drive for profit can lead to overproduction, which then necessitates seeking new markets abroad, increasing the risk of conflict. And this is why in the year 2025, when most pundits were thinking that we were progressing, they stupidly overlooked the elephant in the room, the monster in the room of predatorial capitalism itself. This system is the devourer of all civilized cohesion. Its mantra is constant expansion, constant consumption, an endless hunger for bigger and more expansive markets. It is all interconnected, and why you see the issues we're seeing play out right now in real time. The war machine will never stop turning because the governments initiate wars. Wars driven by various factors like resource control or preventing competitors from prospering, regardless of their economic system. It exhibits characteristics that can contribute to conflict and instability. It is described as a system where profit-seeking behavior is prioritizes over ethics, social welfare, and long-term consequences, is linked to conflict and instability. It's an adversarial system where some gain at the expense of others. Competition for resources and markets. The need for expansion and profit leads to competition for resources, markets, and strategic territories, potentially escalating to conflicts. Imperialism and colonialism. The pursuit of resources and markets through colonialism and imperialism, often driven by capitalist motivations, has historically resulted in wars and conflicts. It promotes a win-lose mentality, emphasizes the idea that for one person to gain, another must lose, fostering a combative and adversarial environment. Encourages militarization, particularly in its more aggressive forms, can lead to militarization as a means of securing resources, protecting economic interests abroad, and suppressing resistance to exploitation. While predatory capitalism is inherently characterized as a combative, parasitical system, as its emphasis on maximizing short-term profits, disregard for ethics, pursuit of competition, and tendency to exacerbate inequality can create a fertile ground for conflict and instability at various levels. And this fertile ground that is called predatorial capitalism, that is fertilized by the victims who were devoured by it and defecated out. War is inevitable because, in the end, predatorial capitalism and war are one and the same. And here's the real funny part of this. The mechanisms of predatorial capitalism is now on autopilot. It has so much toxic momentum behind it that it cannot be stopped, so that the fires of wars it created may soon consume those who once profit from it.